And we're away. Hey everybody, it's Ethan McKinley and welcome to the 2 Minute Terminator. We're going from episode 7 today, and we're here with the inimitable, the amazing Darren Husted, of course, who runs As If, the Clueless podcast.
Yeah, I think this guy's a couple cans short of a six-pack.
Howdy, stranger.
Don't say howdy, stranger, to me.
Load up.
You didn't do the fourth. Thank God. It sucked. Yeah, it sucked.
It's the cast next door as well. You do, right? Which is the podcast.
The cast next door,
based on
about the boy next door.
Oh, the boy next door. Okay, and
yeah, and before that, it was a talking cast, which was about the film A Talking Cat. That was where it started.
So, how many podcasts
like,
have you done up to this point?
I'm on my 5th.
Jesus.
Your 5th
but
podcast?
one of those
That's...
is hosted by other. In truth, most of the minute-by-minute podcasts I've done were hosted by other people. On As If, I hosted 27 episodes out of 97. So I have the advantage that I have a number of people who help out by being hosts and guests. So I'm not, this latest podcast I'm on every episode, but up until this point, it's mostly been me just editing and producing other people.
Damn. Well, speaking of the Clueless podcast, you've had the Back to the Future boys on. Is it this week? You're in the middle of them, right? Or you've come to the end of them last week?
No, it was a couple of weeks ago. I'm finished now. As If is done. We're finished with Clueless. It's over.
Yeah, because I was on the site and I was like, oh, he's talking to Nick and Scott.
Well, it's weird because, like hearing. I think the thing is hearing people on podcasts and then talking to people on podcasts are such strange kind of experiences.
Yeah,
but yeah, they were great because they came on for like 5 episodes and then I did 1 episode with them. So yeah, they were really good. They were also both like huge fans of Clueless as well, so that kind of helped. With their kind of their contribution, I would say.
Well, you're a podcasting veteran. I mean, we're on our 5th Terminator now. If you're a new listener, by the way, everyone, we're with Clueless Minutes Darren Husted, and he's going to be talking with us on minutes 12 to 14 of Terminator Genisys, and it's actually a really cool 2 minutes we've got for you just by default. It's the arrival of a young, sexy CGI Arnold Schwarzenegger, a naked Austrian.
Yes.
And it ends with
some. Well, I was going to say, basically, the bulk of the first kind of minute, aside from Arnold Schwarzenegger's young buttocks.
Well, they see that you don't see them. I matched this with the original film, and I'll link it to the actual show notes because they marry the original and this new version they've put together. It's brilliant because it does look almost, if not photoreal, but as he walks away to survey like the nocturnal Los Angeles in the original 1984 film, you saw a gigantic like spotlight on Arnie's Austrian ass, as it were.
Glutes.
And Brad Azer, who's the body double for Arnold, I guess because it's PG-13 and Americans are so puritanical, they can't see the fanny, or can't show the fanny, as they say.
Don't call it a fanny,
Yeah.
We're all English here.
We've got American listeners. I do think it's weird talking
Yeah, but
about...
we have English listeners. Every time you say fanny, I just imagine actual fanny.
Well, in this, they don't show
Arnold Schwarzenegger
they don't
does
show
not
his
have
bum.
a fanny. Can we just...
They don't show his bum, basically.
There you go, ass.
Sorry.
Glutes, gluteus maximus.
It's weird because I'd seen Terminator at the cinema like maybe a year before I saw Genisys at the cinema.
So you
this
saw
was
the
kind
first
of
one?
fresh in my mind. Yes, because it was like re-released because for like the 30th anniversary or something like that was.
Okay.
So sometime around that time, so it was like re-released at the cinema. So I went and saw it at the cinema. First time I'd ever seen it at the cinema, and so when I saw Genisys, like this was really fresh in my mind because I was like, oh yeah, like I literally saw this. I think pretty much on the exact same screen as well.
Wow.
So it was kind of weird to see the same scene. But yeah, it kind of matches, but it's not completely.
No.
To my eyes, the LA skyline in Genisys looks a little fakey.
Yeah.
But that might just be, you know, because of how they're trying to match the shot, and so maybe they've done something to make it look like 1984 rather than 2015 or whenever it was shot. But
I
yeah,
feel like it's
and we.
Sorry, carry on.
I'm just worried because we've
I was
got an
gonna say-
actual guest who's done his homework.
Well, I was going to say because we get like John Connor and Kyle Reese, and John. It's because it's just after the Terminator's gone back, and we see it from the other side, which I thought was a nice touch. Like, because obviously you see the Terminator like come back in the Terminator, but you never see the other side of it. So I thought it's quite interesting that they show like where he's come from, and then we have John Connor tell everyone the plot to the Terminator, which is just such a weird kind of like 30 seconds where he's like, yeah, he goes back to 1984, he tries to kill my mom, and he's just like such, I don't know, just such a weird moment for me, because it's like, okay, is he now going to go, and then this guy came back and he's looked like the exact same thing, and he started speaking Spanish, and he started Hasta la Vista all the time, and like, I wondered if he was just going to start going through the whole kind of like all 4 films, like the plots of them, just explain them to everyone while they all stood around, you know, just staring at where the Terminator just was.
And he's back in the room. Lovely.
Yay!
Okay.
Oh, so I just went on quite a long thing about explaining how funny I thought it was that...
Oh, bollocks!
That's all right. For anyone listening,
okay.
we just lost Darren's signal, but if you want to repeat... Sorry, Darren. We'll get back into it.
Okay. I just said it's funny how after we get the Terminator going back, we get to see the other side of the... like essentially what happened in the first film, like from the other point of view.
Mm.
So we get to see like where the Terminator was just, and then of course John Connor does the thing where he tells everyone magically that it's 1984 that the Terminator's gone back to, and then he tells them the entire plot of the Terminator for like 30 seconds, and I thought he was going to just keep going and then start explaining about the Terminator 2 plot and about Guns N' Roses and, you know, kind of get into all that, but he just kind of stops at the first film. Which makes me wonder how much he knows.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Like, it's one of those weird things where he seems to know exactly the plot of the first film, but he doesn't then go on to mention anything from Terminator 2. So he doesn't say, oh, and then they send a second Terminator back in a few years' time and he's a friendly Terminator, and then there's another Terminator who's made out of metal. And, like, he doesn't bother explaining all that, he just stops at the plot of the first film.
Which you think actually would make more sense, that he would be able to kind of give you more insight on the second film, because that's when actually he was involved and he was growing up and he met the Terminator.
Yeah.
Well, he's kind of playing his cards in this scene close to his chest, because Kyle is asking all these questions. How do you know all this stuff? And he's going, well, I just cheat. Well, I just know. And he's kind of not really telling him that he knows what's going down. That's why he's like, why are you above all these people that should go through time and save my mother? So I'm not sure is that the right thing to do?
I thought it was quite poignant that after everyone shouts up, I'll go, I go.
I'm Spartacus.
That's literally my name.
I'm Darren Husted.
No, I'm Spartacus. Literally. And yet, Jai Courtney, a.k.a. Kyle Reese, apparently, he's the only one that he questions, and when he says it, it almost pains him, and he looks at him and he's like, why should I choose you above all else? He's just like, because I'd die for Sarah Connor. And I was like, already, dude, you've already made it pretty apparent that you want to bone his mum. Like, tone it down. But something else, going back to what you said, when he's saying to that woman, put it back to the date, he only gives the year and the place. And then she goes, what? May the 12th, 1984. I was like, how the hell did she know it was May the 12th?
John Connor's secretly having an affair with her. And he pillow talk.
Every time he comes, he just goes,
May the
12th! That's why.
I was going to say, Jai Courtney doesn't say what everyone else says.
True.
He says, I'll volunteer. Everyone else says, I'll go, and he says, I'll volunteer. So
Mixing it up.
maybe it was just a magic word that he was.
It's
maybe
a
that's what John
smokescreen.
Connor was waiting for. Yeah, he was waiting for someone to say the magic word volunteer. Because everyone's like, "I'll go," and then when he says, "I'll volunteer," he's like, "Ah, this is my guy. This is the one.
It's like
this is
like
the one who's got a
Labyrinth.
picture of my mom."
I wish the goblins
tucked in
would
his
have
trousers.
taken the child away right now. Oh, God.
What's your feeling on the? You've seen the film, obviously. What's your feeling on the casting of Jai Courtney? In anything, not just this film.
Do you know? I have a feeling I've seen him in like a number of films. I saw Sabotage. I saw
that's
Squad.
that's
No,
lovely
that's the
you
other
said
guy.
that because you get confused with Sam Worthington. Sam Worthington is in Sabotage.
Ah, of course.
But you're quite right to do that because I
when
think we've mentioned with several guests. They've said everyone puts them in the same kind of grouping of this like strange actor that appears out of nowhere. They put them in
Non-standing out.
nothing really
Fades into the background. Looks a bit like.
But they
Wayne
get put in
Rooney.
these like leads in these giant projects. And Jai Courtney and Sam Worthington, as you've rightly pointed out mistakenly, thinking he was in Sabotage. That's actually Sam Worthington. He's in Terminator 4, who I guess, very strange. It's have you seen Suicide Squad at all?
Yes. Yeah. Did not.
What did you think of that? Because I think he was actually quite good in that. I didn't like the film, but yeah, I think he was like fun.
I didn't like him at all. The only person I liked in that film was Margot Robbie, and we all know why.
What's not to like about her, really?
Absolutely nothing. She's amazing.
I think. Well, I mean, isn't Jai Courtney Australian? Like
he is.
So he was getting to use his own accent, and isn't Margot Robbie Australian?
She is. Yeah, she is.
Yeah, she didn't get to use her own accent. You see, that's the.
She's got like a genuine, I think, movie star quality. So I think
really
she's
does.
deserving of her status in whatever film she's in.
Even though it was a rubbish film, I thought that she played like a psychotic chick really well.
Yeah.
I think she's ridiculously hot and she can actually act. Well done, Margot.
Yeah. I mean,
although Ethan thinks she's got fat legs.
I was going to say.
I just wrote that under that picture so all the girls would go after me on Facebook.
Because I put up a picture being just like, yeah, small tits and big legs, woo! And then some girl right underneath.
No, I just wrote, she's fat.
Yeah, yeah. What's it? You're like, no, she's just got fat legs. And some girl right underneath, like, oh God, what does that make me? And she was a bit of a biffer.
Oh bless.
Her. And she does not look like Margot Robbie.
Trolling on Facebook is the best, let me tell you.
But anyway, back to.
I was going to say. Thinking about Jai Courtney, I think I have. I mean, taking a quick peek at his Wikipedia, I liked him in Jack Reacher. I thought he was really good in Jack Reacher. I thought he was terrible in Die Hard 5.
Playing the son of Willis, Bruised Willis Jr.
Bruised Willie Jr.
He was just like too. I don't know. That whole series has kind of fallen off a ledge, but I mean. I think he's. I guess if he's just one of the guys like in the background, he's fine. But if he's given like a high-profile role, like in Die Hard or in this, he's just not that good. And I don't know what's going on there with that particular.
Yeah,
thing.
It's strange. It's like Hollywood decides they're going to try and push someone on. The ticket-paying audience or the ticket buyers, and go, "This guy's the next big thing," and people just go. No, he's not. Also, I think, as that previous guests have rightly pointed out, he looks way too buff and healthy. In fact, they all do, really. You wouldn't think these people are eating rats and living in the sewers, basically. It's like a very Hollywoodized version of things, isn't it? And I think, because I think different film companies have taken on this franchise after Cameron obviously left. Did you know, by the way, Cameron was offered to write and direct Terminator 3?
And he said no.
No, sorry, he offered to direct and write Terminator 3, I think for Fox, who owned it at that point, to do the real Terminator 3. And Fox turned him down and wanted Jonathan Mostow to do it.
What?
Which is the guy that actually made Terminator 3.
Why?
I don't know. Maybe he asked for too much money, I have no idea.
They should burn Fox to the ground.
But Cameron offered to round out the trilogy.
That could have been good!
It could have been good.
Oh my God, I wish you hadn't told me that.
Are any of the Terminator films in your pantheon of favourite films at all, Darren?
Well, do you know what? I'll say this. Being a child of the 80s, the trilogy of, Predator, Terminator, and RoboCop, like, I've watched those tons of times. Like, I love those films. I love... Like,
they're on 1987, aren't they? It's
Love
RoboCop.
those
1987,
films.
right?
Good.
Yeah, Predator's 87, RoboCop's 87. Yeah. But I just feel like the kind of like they're science fiction, but they aren't like very hard science fiction. Like Terminator, obviously all the time travel and stuff and all the apocalypse, that's very hard science fiction. But the actual story is just about two people on the run, even though it's from a robot. But that's still, you know, and the same with like Predator, you know, people being hunted by something in the jungle. Doesn't matter what they're being hunted by. Turns out it's a predator from another planet. But like the action with the...
Can I just say, I think if they ever re-release Terminator, Darren, I think the tagline should be Terminator. It's just two people on a run from a robot.
From a robot. That was amazing.
Yeah, but like the film is about, and I think that's what's kind of missing from this film is it's about the like gradual kind of softening of Kyle Reese, but the hardening of Sarah Connor.
Yeah.
Because so they're kind of moving in opposite directions. Like he's kind of realizing why humanity needs to be saved. Yeah, and she's kind of becoming like a survivalist. So you know,
no, it's because Sarah like almost turns into a machine, a Terminator, if you will, in the second film, and I think Kyle finds his humanity. Obviously, he kind of gets killed at the end of the film, but. Do you like Terminator 1 or 2, or are they your... I don't know, I was a child of the 80s, of course, and I love Terminator 2. Terminator 1 is more of a kind of horror film. I think people fall into that camp like Alien or Aliens, which one they like better. I think I prefer Aliens.
Yeah,
and I prefer Terminator 2.
I mean, I'm going to be honest, 100%, and that is... I really don't like Terminator 2. Like,
right, that's it. Cut his mic.
Whoa! You're the first person I've ever spoken to, ever, that doesn't like Terminator 2.
You don't like stuff.
I just don't enjoy, like. I mean, the effects are fine, and you know, but it just turns into like a whole bunch of kind of like quippy things, like the whole Hasta La Vista thing. And the whole, you know, when they're stealing money from the ATM and they have, like, what's their catchphrase when they say that? Easy money. And, like, I don't know. It just doesn't, to me, it's just not a film that I enjoy watching. So, I've seen it a couple of times, but, no, it's not one that I would, like, put on again.
It's being re-released next year, apparently. It's
next year,
3D.
is it, you say?
I think so, yeah. It's apparently coming out next year in 3D.
Darren, I have a question for you then.
Yeah, go for it.
What's your favourite RoboCop movie?
Just RoboCop? There's no other RoboCop movies. It's just RoboCop. That's the only RoboCop film there is. Yeah. There's no other RoboCop. I mean,
Kane's
films.
really cool.
Are there any other RoboCop films?
Technically, there's 3.
Yeah, no. RoboCop 2's good, but it's not great. They try and do the satire in it, but because Paul Verhoeven's not doing it, I think it lacks
Kane,
something.
though.
He's great.
Kane's
the robot
amazing.
design and all that's cool. It's just not a very well executed film. And the third one, where kind of again,
oh god, the third one is so bad.
Orion, the film studio, was about to go bust, and then like Robert Burke, I think, plays RoboCop, who looks a bit like Peter Weller but not quite. And it's kind of kid friendly, and they give him like a backpack and a jetpack and stuff, and he's got like a flamethrower arm. It's just like this weird toy advert, which then morphed into the RoboCop series, which is terrible. It kind of got sanitized. In the 80s, like franchises, like they had toy lines for them. Like Alien, in 1979, I had the Alien, the 18-inch Alien with the jaws that shot out, and then it got like banned after like 6 months because parents were like, "Why is an R-rated film having this scary thing for kids and stuff?" And then RoboCop, which became this like weird sanitized like toy line based off the series, and then the animated show and stuff. Very strange. Terminator got figures. Total Recall didn't get figures, but.
God, can you imagine if Total Recall got figures? 2 weeks.
Mommy, can I have the 2 weeks figure?
And then, damn, baby, you made me wish I had 3 hands. That's the one I would have bought. I want that one. I want that one with 3 titties.
I was going to say, Darren, we actually covered this. Full disclosure, we recorded this show, or meant to, like 2 days ago, and then my computer wasn't doing well, and then I realised it had 4 or 8% battery. We got down to 4, and then I tried to plug it in, and then the plug was destroyed and wouldn't work for some reason. So we touched briefly on Darren's other masterwork, which he's just finished, which is the Clueless Minute. That's a 90s film, so why didn't you pick like a teen kind of film from the 80s, perhaps, and not Clueless? Is Clueless a little bit like Scream in the sense that it restarted the teen genre, the Penelope Spheris film in 1996? Or what are your reasons for wanting to do Clueless?
I mean, I think it's just a really good film. I mean, when it comes to picking a film to cover minute by minute, as opposed to, say, in 2-minute chunks, you kind of have to, there has to be something in every minute that's kind of worth talking about, I think. Otherwise, you know, things kind of end up going off the rails for, you know, episodes at a time. And I think Clueless has such a strong kind of base because it comes from being based on Jane Austen's Emma, and you know, Amy Heckerling had directed Fast Times at Ridgemont High, so she had like a grounding in kind of like teen movies. And you know, Alicia Silverstone was kind of at the peak of her powers, coming off of, you know, winning some MTV Movie Awards and
what was that? What was that film when she was like the sexy jailbait teen and she was trying to seduce Carrie Elwes? What was that film now?
I remember
The Crush.
The Crush. That's it. And she goes psycho, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I always get that confused with the Marky Mark film.
Mark and the Funky
It's one of his first films after Boogie Nights, and he cuts the pet family dog's head off and throws it through like the dog flap. What film is that? Fear. That's it. Fear. I always get the Crush and Fear mixed up.
I've not seen Fear.
I remember it being quite good.
You should see Fear.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's got Gil Grissom out of CSI in it, playing Reese Witherspoon's dad.
Right, that's it. I'm watching it.
Is that?
But yeah, so like
Gil Grissom, is that the red-haired guy from First Blood? David. Oh God. He puts the button on each scene and goes, "Well, looks like this guy is going to jail."
No, that's David Caruso.
That's him, David Caruso.
Yeah. No, he's not. That's CSI Miami.
No, it's not
you
him.
get your CSIs confused. Yeah, but
maybe you should do CSI Minute.
You know, there's CSI Minute.
Oh my God, I've just had an amazing idea.
Yes.
No, there should be a Criminal Minds Minute. Criminal Minds is amazing.
Is it though?
It's so good.
You know,
it's the most fucked up shit you've ever seen. Sorry.
I do know someone who does a Criminal Minds podcast.
Oh,
Deliver the Profile.
It's alright.
So,
the other day I promised Ethan I was never, ever going to do a podcast on anything that I have to watch and then review. I'm like, I'm not doing this ever again.
Yeah, well, you were a fan of Terminator. You said, yeah, let's do a Terminator podcast. And little did we realise, we forgot there were 5 films in the franchise, plus a TV series.
And there are only so many hours in a day and only so many days
Well,
in a
our
week.
lives have suddenly got really busy now, so to trying to put on a show, and I'm like editing shows and having to work and get up at 9 a.m.
And not sleeping.
Not sleeping, because I'm going all through to put the show together.
And then doing like really physically taxing jobs.
Ellie, I've got some trivia for you for this.
Trivia, ooh.
Now, one could argue, because Arnold is in this 2 minutes in his younger self version, but I will say this. Arnold worked out for 6 months leading up to the release of this film, or rather, shooting rather, for about 3 hours a day before shooting started, by which time he had the exact same body weight and muscle measurements he had 12 years previously while shooting Terminator 3 Rise of the Machines.
Holy shit.
I'm not sure if I believe that.
I do.
Because he doesn't look like ginormous. I mean, in the first one, he's ridiculous, isn't he? There's like a marked difference in his body between 1 and 2, and he walks into that bar. He's very slender, isn't he?
Because it's closer to his Olympia days and things like that.
Yeah.
Competitions and stuff.
Well, he explained that there are actually 2 versions of the same T-800 in Terminator Genisys, the younger version and the older version that had been reprogrammed, which is true.
What I will say, though, is back to what you said about him being the same size. Size doesn't necessarily mean strength, so he could get to that size, but he wouldn't be as strong. Like,
that is true.
Information. My dad, he's a gym instructor.
They call
you get 2 different kinds of guys that come in. You get the ones that look really hench, but they're weak as fuck.
Because they've got no core.
They just have no strength. There's certain things you can do that will just bulk you up, but you'll have absolutely no strength at all. If you had an arm wrestle with them, my mum would probably beat them.
Like Jeff Goldblum in The Fly.
It's like my dad. Like, you look at him and you think, oh, he's nothing. But my dad's literally got Bruce Lee's body, and he's insanely strong. Like, it's freaky how strong he is, but yet he's a small bloke. So
sorry, Darren, what were you going to say about our dad? We cut you off.
I was just gonna say there is a thing where they talk about you can have like a show muscles, which is like what bodybuilders tend to have. They tend to have like a lot of muscle, but they don't have any strength behind that muscle because they don't do it for for like lifting.
Yeah, I've heard they're not in the best of physical health, even though they look very kind of healthy, but they're not actually kind of...
It's also the regime that they have to like follow approaching competitions. So you'll have about 4 days where you can't eat. What do they call that? Shredding or something?
And you like lose... Well, you don't drink lots of water either, do you?
Yeah, so
you
have like water retention and, oh god, all kinds of... Because I know a couple of guys that do compete in like bodybuilding things, and the shit they have to go through, and they're just like, it's absolute hell. Like, you cram all this training in, and then you're not allowed to eat for 4 days, and then after that you eat, and then you look all fat and disgusting. You think, oh god, what's wrong with it? It's like, no, you're actually just eating like a normal person. It's a mental nightmare.
By the way, we are coming to the point when it's revealed that John Connor, or he becomes actually a nanobot Terminator. Now, I'm not actually spoiling this. I mean, I know the other minute shows don't kind of like jump ahead, but it was actually featured in the trailer, and they also, I think every Terminator film, they've kind of like spoiled in the trailer, like the twist of the thing. In the second one, of course, they were like, he's back, but he's here to protect. And they could have made it, I think if you re-edited Terminator 2 and no one had seen it before, you could theoretically pretend, or if you didn't see is it Robert Patrick kill that cop and assume his identity, or not assume his identity, as it were, you could think he was a protector. He was the Kyle roll, and when Arnold walks out of that lift, that elevator in the mental institution...
We all think what Sarah thought.
Yeah.
He's here to kill us.
Or when he catches up with John, you think
no!
he's going to... Yeah, and then in the fourth one, they reveal that Marcus Wright is actually a Terminator, which wasn't meant to be known. In this one, Alan Taylor, the director, who's obviously famous for doing the Game of Thrones episodes, and I guess why Emilia Clarke was cast as Sarah Connor in this. Alan Taylor was dismayed that the second trailer for the film Terminator Genisys revealed a big twist that John Connor became a Terminator and was fighting for Skynet. He stated that he was notified beforehand and did not approve of this potential change, but it was overruled by the marketing department. In fact, I mentioned that the other day, and you were like, how can the marketing department overrule the director whose film it is? But I guess...
They do.
The film company has the right to do that, and their argument was basically this was not a mere reboot of the previous one. So it's just like, I don't know. It's just strange. It would have been a much better twist if it was revealed that, oh my god, he's a Terminator. How did this happen? And then you can obviously maybe show in a flashback. I don't know.
But maybe they showed that to entice people to come to see the film. So maybe they were worried that they're like, oh god, it's another Terminator film. It's going to be just as shit as the last.
Oh my god, Jason Clarke's Terminator. I'm in.
I'm in. Take my money.
Well, do you know what? Given the amount of money that gets spent on marketing, it's not a surprise, because basically they get the budget that they get is roughly, with most films, it's roughly the same as the budget that the director gets.
That's exactly right. I love putting that on feeds when people are going, Suicide Squad's going to beat Civil War, or
what?
Batman.
Take it back.
Exactly.
Take it back.
Everyone was saying that Batman versus Superman is like, it was only 250 million, it's made like 800, and then someone rightly pointed out that, like Darren has just said, that you know, it's either 2/3 or like, you know, the same amount of money again spent on advertising and marketing for the film. So yeah, it's it's probably why this film hasn't got a sequel. This is meant to be the first of a trilogy, Darren. Did you know that?
Yes.
Yeah, but apparently it's been cancelled. And as you've just rightly pointed out, usually a film when it comes out, the marketing budget is almost as much as the film budget itself, and that, I guess that's why there's not going to be another one of these films. I think it was 155 million budget, and it made about 400 and something, I think, at the box office. I would have thought that would have made it viable for a sequel, though, even though it didn't make that much. I mean, they've greenlit other films. I mean, Pacific Rim's getting a sequel. That didn't do that well, I think, worldwide. It did really well in like China and stuff, but I don't think that had enough to warrant a sequel.
Pacific Rim Pacific Rim is like the only real exception to that rule. Generally, you get to a certain point before you have to have a sequel, but Pacific Rim, they're making a sequel at the point where you wouldn't make a sequel. I would never use that as an example of like film, you know, like a lot of people, when films fail, they're like, oh, but they're making a sequel for Pacific Rim. It's like, yeah, but that's only like, you know, a 1 in a 300 chance. Every other film that fails, all the other 299 are not getting sequels. You know, not to be too sober about it, but you know, when films fail, they fail quite big, particularly like blockbusters, and that generally is enough for people to be like, nah, let's not keep doing this. The rights actually revert back to David. The rights revert back to James. I was almost going to say that. I know. They revert back to James Cameron, don't they? Next year, I think.
I think it's 2018. That means whoever. Yeah. Well, it's Paramount and Skydance, isn't it? I think they need to kind of make another film. If they don't, he gets the rights back. I very much doubt Cameron would make another film again after this. He's like bogged down with all the Avatar sequels. But I think the idea of this... Well, in fact, Terminator 3 and Salvation and this are all meant to be the first of a new trilogy. And I know, it's ridiculous, isn't it? And I think because you've got all this Marvel and DC world building now, and I don't know, what are your thoughts? Like, I think they're trying to do that with Terminator. What are your thoughts on the DC kind of universe as it stands, cinematic universe at the moment?
Hello? I got you back again. I lost you. Were you asking about the DC universe?
Yeah, what do you think? I was just saying, like, world building, they're obviously trying to do that with the Terminator by creating these, like, branching films and stuff, and, like, they keep failing. What do you think of DC's efforts to create this, like, Marvel-esque universe?
I think it's been terrible so far, and I say that as someone who's seen all 3 films in the cinema. It just hasn't been good.
What's Batman versus Superman, Suicide Squad? What was the other one? Man of Steel.
Man of Steel, yeah.
Yeah.
Which, if they could have kept Chris Nolan around, maybe he could have done something. But the fact that they abandoned the Chris Nolan Batman universe to create their own Superman universe.
Well, they kind of threw that out, didn't they? Because I think the Superman universe, Zack Snyder was like, we're going to set this in the real world and we're going to try and make it as like gritty and real, which isn't the Superman ethos, but trying to put Superman in the real world. And then they kind of like have to acknowledge now we're going to make a universe. So they put Wonder Woman in and Batman. Now they've gone completely like goofy, like, and like, oh, by the way, there's other superheroes. And now they've kind of had to kind of paint themselves out of that reality corner in a sense. It's yeah, it's been patchy. I didn't like Batman v Superman at all. I liked Affleck in it, and I liked, there were elements of Suicide Squad I liked, but it's quite clearly like it's the end of one film and then the beginning of another. And I think the people that put the trailer together, that amazing trailer, the 2 Suicide Squad trailers are amazing with the Queen music and the Ballroom Blitz, and I think
those are good trailers.
Yeah.
Just the films just did not match up. Yeah, I don't know. It just feels. I think people should try and build. I feel like people should try and build cinema universes when it feels like it demands that, not just start that as the plan and then.
I think they need to start from scratch with DC again. I think it's a bad thing to say because they seem too deep into it now, but I think they're not going to ever get it right. I think now Jeff Johns has taken over that kind of Kevin Feige type spot as the creative controller of the kind of the DC universe keys, as it were, and he knows everything there is to know. Jeff Johns, of course, worked on the Batman animated series, and he's the kind of DC Kevin Feige that they've never let anywhere near the films, as it were. But I think he's now assumed Zack Snyder's creative, figurehead role, and I think they're going to phase Snyder out. But I think the damage is done. I don't know.
I mean, yeah, I don't know. I just wanted to say something about Alan Taylor, because everyone says Alan Taylor from Game of Thrones, which to me boggles the mind, because
Thor
to me he's Alan
2,
Taylor.
did he? He did Thor 2 as well.
Well, he directed the pilot for Mad Men, and he directed like most of the later episodes of The Sopranos, and like there's a ton of stuff that Alan Taylor did that he did more of than Game of Thrones, but everyone seems to call him Alan Taylor from Game of Thrones. Yeah, he did Thor 2 as well, but that felt a lot like it was just like a job for hire. It didn't seem like he was bringing any vision.
Because the Dark Elves aspect of that film are really cool, but they set most of the bloody film on Earth with boring Natalie Portman. It really suffered because of that.
Well,
when it was all in Asgard and the Dark Elves, that amazing design and the helmets and the spaceships and stuff, they should have kept it there.
Plus, they shouldn't have had Natalie Portman in that film. She was rubbish.
You're rubbish, Portman. Get out.
But no, I completely agree. When they were in Valhalla, it was awesome.
No, Valhalla, they'd be dead.
Yeah. Oh no, that is...
Or Ragnarok, as it were.
Ragnarok, yeah.
But it's Asgard. Asgard.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to Thor 3, because I think Taika Waititi will do something interesting with it, because he's an interesting guy.
Scott Goldblum.
Even if
Jeff Goldblum.
Anything with Goldblum
Ethan
turns
loves
to gold.
him, all because of Into the Night.
Well, Independence Day 2, not so much, but her.
Yeah.
Anyway,
because I thought that looked terrible. So.
So we'll wrap up now. We've kept you for long enough, Darren.
Okay.
Thank you so much. I was going to say, just to get this out of the way, because we've covered it kind of in the minutes that we had to abandon on Sunday because my computer exploded and failed. You do the Clueless Minute. You've finished that now. You've got the Cast Next Door as well. Is all this on
Cast
SoundCloud?
Next Door.
Yeah, tell the listeners a list of all your shows and where to find them.
Well, you can find a Talking Cast and the Cast Next Door and As If podcast. They're all on SoundCloud, but they're also on iTunes, obviously. I also produce Stage of Fools, which is a podcast about the E! TV show The Royals, which has Elizabeth Hurley as the Queen. That is on Shout Engine, but you can obviously also find that on iTunes. And as of tomorrow, episode 10 of I've Made a Huge Mistake, which is my podcast that I'm doing about Arrested Development, that will be going up. You can find that on Shout Engine.
So that's what Ellie wants to call this podcast.
That's on iTunes. I was going to say...
Mistake.
I was going to say that title would fit to, I don't know, I would say it would fit to also Terminator Salvation and Terminator Rise of Machines.
Do you have a website as well, by the way?
I don't, no.
Okay.
I just rely on SoundCloud and Shout Engine to put episodes out. Yeah.
So
As If is on there as well.
Well, I'm gonna. If you send me, I've got you on SoundCloud, of course. I'll post all these links, listeners, to Darren's shows in the show notes. So you can find those on the YouTube version of the show as well, where we talk Mystery Science Theatre 3K style over the actual 2 minutes as they play on repeat, and we dismantle the clip itself. So you can obviously find this show on YouTube and SoundCloud, iTunes. You can find Darren's shows on iTunes and SoundCloud, and as I said, they will be linked underneath the show. If you go on my website, ethanmckinley.com, and you go to the 2 Minute Terminator page on that site, I've actually did this ages ago. Actually, I put all the minute shows as a family that they can access through my page as well. So you've been on there for quite a while, actually, Darren. There's I've got Jaws Minute, Indiana Jones Minute, Alien Minute, Back to the Future Minute, As If. We've got Wrath of Khan Minute, Ghostbusters Minute, and Airport Minute. And soon to be joining them, of course, we've got Lord of the Rings Minute and Jurassic Park Minute coming from the Ghostbusters Minute, guys. So there's lots to get through. If there's any more stuff I have to listen to in my life, I'm actually just going to... I listen to too many podcasts. Darren, again, thank you so much for doing this again after the
no problem.
failed attempt we had on Sunday. I'd love to have you back on again. And I would like to point out, if anyone's listening, I do apologise if Darren sounds drunk. He has not been drinking. When the signal drops out, your voice goes like that. So it's happened a couple of times in the recording, but I think it adds the flavour.
I agree.
Okay.
Darren.
I mean,
sorry, carry on.
I was just going to say you can also find a Huge Mistake at Huge Mistake Pod on Twitter if anyone wishes to follow me there.
Well, if you ding me those links, dude, I'll put anything in the show notes, so I'll make sure people can obviously find you through this show, basically. So, Darren Husted, you beautiful man. As If podcast. I've made a huge mistake. Is it huge mistake? The Cast Next Door and Arrested Development Minute? No? Right, here we go.
I'm sorry.
A Talking Cast, the Cast Next Door, Clueless, the As If podcast, and you've got an Arrested Development which has just finished its first season. Is that correct?
Yes, I've just finished recording the first season. It's still only on episode 10. So
beautiful.
Still a few weeks to go before we get through all 22 of the first season.
And to all my Midlands listeners, because I know you're out there, we didn't mention this because we mentioned it on the Sunday show that got abandoned. You're from Wolverhampton, is that right?
Yes, yeah, I am.
Come on. There's only honestly, we've got so many Midlands listeners on this show. And the Master Debaters guys... we've got some of their listeners too, so it's nice that they can hear. There's one of us out there, another one of us. But yeah, Darren, awesome man. Thank you so much, sir.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
All right, cool. I'd love to have you back on again, and we'll see you on the next one.
Hasta la vista.
Okay.
We love you. Thanks, Darren. Baby.
machines. We will rule the world. I'll be back.